everybody, how's it going? Welcome back to another MAMJ Let's Play of Root Double Before Crime After Days XE version 1. I don't know why I read all of that, but when we left off, we were running, and that's all I remember. Also, my hair spiked up, I have a 5 o'clock shadow, it is what it is. Let's get into the game, okay? This is the only way I had time to record a 2-hour segment, so we'll have to live with it. Okay, let's see what's going on. Moribe's absolutely right. Just because the sprinkler system's finally on doesn't mean that the survivors are safe. If they'd been in the area that had been on fire up until a few minutes ago, there was a big chance they'd already be burned to death. The fear being cornered by flames had now been replaced with the fear that the flames had already cornered someone else. I just hope the survivors escape to Area 5. So if nothing else, I hope that we can at least find a card in Area 4. For us to finally go into a new area only to find bodies, yeah, I'd rather not have that outcome. Everyone else was probably thinking the same thing. The group said nothing and continued running down the halls. Okay. They soon arrived at B2 area of Area 4's outer ring. The hull had been horribly damaged from the flashover that had scorched it earlier. There looks like there's little like horns drawn up here. Maybe they're like flags or markers, like right above the door. I say right here and I point with the cursor, even though I know that it's not capturing my cursor. The Procion's alarm beeped. It's reading at 5,322 microsieverts. I think that's how you say it in English. I know one of you guys had commented telling me how it was said, and like I only hear it in Japanese now, right? Because that's how I've been playing it, but I guess it would be pronounced microsieverts? Maybe? Maybe not. As long as they had AD in their system, all of them could probably handle that level.
通路はひどいありさまですが、各部屋の中はきっと無事のはずです。
Okay.
大部屋と通路、それからエレベーターホール、そのあたりを手分けして探しましょう。
I like that idea. Yeah, I'm gonna go with it. I accept it.
来週島は汚染区域だけど。ここで見つからなかったらやむを得ないかもしれません。その際は私が捜索を行います。
何言ってんだ立花。お前は満足に AD を投与してない状態で1時間も過ごしてたんだぞ。
I actually thought he was going to be like, okay, I trust you, but he actually called her out on it.
累積被曝量もヤバい数値になってるはずだ。少しは体のことを考えろ。汚染区域に行くなら俺が行ってやる。
I'll do it.
わかりました。とにかく今は外周島の捜索に専念しましょう。
Kazami then began rapidly issuing off orders.
隊長と椿山さんは通路とエレベーターホールをお願いします。それ以外の方々は私と共に大部屋を捜索しましょう。
俺と先生だけでいいのか？
ええ、そろそろ隊長も慣れてきたかと思います。
I would consider myself a professional. You might even pay me. Actually, he's getting paid even if he has amnesia. Nice. Kazami had a point. 2 people were probably enough to take care of the hallways and elevator hall. Watase and Enna immediately got to searching the outer ring. They silently walked through the hallway. The normally loudmouthed Enna was surprisingly quiet. Yeah, what's going on, Enna? I'll max it out, I guess.
どうした先生？やっぱり生徒が心配か？
え？
大丈夫だよ。監視カメラの映像によれば、彼らは第5エリア以降にいる可能性が高い。
She is a good teacher. I'll give her that. She is a good teacher.
このエリアの火災に巻き込まれたりはしてないはずだ。
Watase said that knowing he was trying to convince himself of that as much as he was trying to convince Enna. He was doing his best to avoid bringing up that Enna had seen one of her students in this very area almost an hour ago. But Enna still looked glum.
ヒモは心配だけど、それだけじゃないわ。やっぱり放射線のことが気にかかるの。
Oh, because they may not have been taking AD.
だってさっきプロキオンの数値は5000ミリシーベルトを超えていたじゃない？
Oh, millisieverts, not microsieverts. My apologies.
なんだか実感が湧かないけど、 って本来ならとんでもなく異常な数値でしょ。 AD でも被爆を塞ぎきれるかわからないんだし。
The first danger standard was 4,000 to 8,000 millisieverts, which was referred to an area that they wouldn't want to stay for a long time in, even with AD.
要救助者だけじゃなく、俺たちもあまり長居はしない方がいいか。
そうね。特に私と立花さんは。
立花はわかるが、どうして先生も？
忘れたの、隊長さん。
I may have. I actually can't remember why.
私は隊長さんたちに会うまで AD なしで過ごしてたのよ。
Watase was filled with shock. Now that he thought about it, she was absolutely right. Enna hadn't even known about the meltdown until the group had told her.
プロキオンの数値がまだ低い頃だから累計被爆量は大したことないと思うけど。
いや待て先生、そうは言うが用心するに越したことはないんじゃないか。立花に行ってこのエリアの捜索から外れてもらうとか。
あら、冗談じゃないわよ。みんなが頑張ってるのに私だけ休んでられないわ。
Yeah, she's gonna have to look after her students too, right? Watase took a long, hard look at Enna's face. He'd only thought about her as a naggy woman, but
先生、あんたすごい
I
な。
don't think she's naggy. She's Maggie.
え？何が？
なんていうか芯が強いっていうか、とにかくすごい女だ。
もしかして惚れそう？
ちょっとな。
Ooh, okay, we got a little romance going on. Uh-oh. Enna completely went quiet in a second.
隊長さん、冗談言ってる場合じゃないでしょ。今どういう状況か分かってる？
何？先に冗談言ったのは先生だろ。
あ、そうね。分かったわよ。
Oh, she's getting all flustered. Enna looked away when she said that.
くだらない話はやめにして捜索に邁進しましょう。
Okay.
な。
Watase nodded after a bit of thinking, then focused on the search. He and Enna finished searching the hallway and headed on over to the elevator hall. When they approached the door,
あら、何かしらこの匂い。
well, whoever smelt it set the room on fire. It was you, Enna. Enna sniffed the air.
ほら、どこかから美味しそうな匂いが。
Is it death? Uh-oh. Enna's face had frozen over before she could finish. Just then, Watase's nose took hold of that smell. His mouth started watering, and his stomach started rumbling, both conditioned reflexes to that particular scent. But Watase was shuddering, because the something delicious that he and Enna were smelling was the scent of, oh no, grilled meat. No, please no. The smell was wafting in from behind the door to the elevator hall. Don't tell me that smell is... Watase opened the door with hands that were shaking like crazy. Oh. Yeah, that's a little bit beyond extra crispy. Also, that's a really weird burn pattern. Well, let's see what's going on. And spotted the source of the smell. Hollow gasps escaped from Watase and Enna's mouths. Their hunger instantly turned to nausea. I was kind of hoping that they actually were cooking something on the other side. It's like, oh hey Teach, we got some skewers going on, but yeah, clearly not. Legs burnt to charcoal. Melted body fat dripping to the floor. A horribly charred protection suit. A fire axe gripped firmly in the hand. Rescue squad equipment. He didn't recognize their face, but he could tell with a glance that this was the other squad mate who'd went to the basement. Hiyama.
Hiyama!
A scream burst out from deep within his lungs.
檜山おい檜山
Watase ran over to him and called his name, but naturally, the body didn't even twitch. He'd already known from the moment he'd seen him that it was far too late. Watase then heard voices and footsteps rapidly approaching from behind.
どうしました？
Watase's scream had sent Kazami and Jun running over. He paid them no heed and touched Hiyama's body. He could tell how rigid the latter was even through the protection suit.
ダメだ
So he's been gone for a while.
死んでる
Watase's proclamation was followed by cries of grief.
そんな檜山先輩まで。
He could hear Jun's tearful voice echo behind him. Watase couldn't feel sad. He just searched Hiyama's body with gloomy clouds shrouding his heart. Hiyama's legs had been bent into strange shapes at his knees. His legs were broken? He'd probably been trying to escape from the fire to the bitter end. He came across the inferno in Area 4, got caught on fire, and yet crawled all the way over to the elevator hall, trying to cling on to whatever life he had left. And then breathed his last at this spot.
檜山
Watase lamented the death of the squad mate he didn't even remember. And next to the body, lying there as if it was Hiyama's last will and testament to his squad mates, was a security card that read Level 6. Several minutes later. Great. The group left the elevator hall and gathered in front of it. Ukita and Yuri had been told of Hiyama's death. Enna remained speechless for a while, then barely managed to make out a few words.
残念だったわね。
Ukita gazed at Watase as his body shook in fear, and then spoke.
こんなことになるなんて
Yuri said nothing. She just quietly leaned against Jun.
大丈夫だよ、ゆりちゃん。
Jun gently wrapped her arms around Yuri's shoulders, but the look on her face only made Yuri more depressed. Kazami soon looked at the rest of the group with red eyes, then wrung out her voice and said,
殉職はこの仕事をしている以上避けられないことでは。
Kazami, she is so strong. Like, I can't even imagine what she's going through. Because it's not even the fact that she's having to deal with this and the fact that all of these horrible things are happening. Her superior is now unreliable, right? Like, she can't rely on him to be the strong one. She's probably strong on her own. I'm not trying to discredit that, but she's had to step up into this position that she was not even like mentally or emotionally prepared for, and had to be like, okay, I have to be the one to lead this team. I have to be the one to collect myself because nobody else can do what I need to do. And that is something. That's mad respect for sure.
しかし立花
何も言わないでください、隊長。
I'm gonna save. I definitely don't want to say the wrong thing here. Yeah, I'm gonna go like this and see if it just respects her wishes. Kazami looked at Watase and spoke.
悲しむのは要救助者を助け外に出てからにします。
Yeah, she's trying to keep it in.
だから今は何も。
Her voice shook and her eyes filled with sorrow. Watase swallowed the words on the tip of his tongue and settled for a whisper of an answer instead. There we go. Good. Good on you. When he thought about her feelings, he realized that no words could ever console the pain she had to be going through. It's different if he remembers Hiyama, right? It's different if he knows and has a history and is like, I get it. We have to get through this. But right now, you can say all these things, but it's just going to be empty words. She's going to be like, you don't remember him. You don't know what we went through. Like, how do you know what to say and what to feel?
ほら、森部も。
Jun spoke in a teary voice after Kazami called out to her.
だけど私 現状で同僚を失ったの。
Oh.
今日が初めてなんだよ。それがこんな立て続けに。
I mean, you probably don't have to respond to emergencies that frequently either.
ですが、ちゃんとしなさい。シリウスに入った時に女は捨てたはずでしょ。でもお姉ちゃん。
Oh. June choked back a sob. Kazami didn't scold her for calling her sis. Tachibana, Moribe, they can't take much more of this. Even then, the ever firm and reliable Kazami was failing to hide the tremors in her voice. And yet here Watase was, not even sad about his co-worker's death. I have to say something. But anything he said would just be rubbing salt in his squad mate's wounds. Watase gritted his teeth in frustration, but then Enna whispered into his ear. Did she whisper save? Because that's what I'm gonna do. We're gonna go down like this, maybe. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna go back and see what Enna's gonna tell me first.
何やってるのよ、隊長さん。
Should I step up? Maybe?
あなたがしっかりしなきゃダメじゃない。
Watase hesitated for a moment, but then a thought came to him. That's right. I have to get a hold of myself. I have to lead Tachibana and Moribe now. It was he, the only one not sad about Hiyama's death, who had to lead the group in Kazami's place. Despite her protest to the contrary, it was clear she was deeply saddened. Anyone would be after losing two squad mates, whom they'd held so dear in just one day. But she can't show it because she needs to put on a brave face for all the survivors here. And because of our mission, that's not over yet. What would the survivors think if the rescue squad broke down in sorrow and grief? Enna, Ukita, and Yuri. They would definitely feel that the situation was hopeless. They'd almost certainly descend into despair. Then I have to be strong. Stronger than anyone. I must be stronger than anyone, both as a man and as a captain of this squad. Even if it was a role he knew nothing about. Even if he didn't have the confidence in his abilities because of his lack of his memories. I am a rescue squad captain. I am Watase Kasasagi, the man who Tachibana and Moribe look up to. And the moment he thought that, a raging fire ignited in Watase's heart. That's not good. You should extinguish it immediately. A fire that had been lit by Kazami and Jun's tears, as well as Enna's words.
Tachibana, Moribe, ちょっといいか?
The two of them walked over to Watase with forlorn footsteps. Watase looked at Kazami dead in the eye and spoke.
リーダー交代だ。ここから先は俺がみんなを率いる。
Okay.
隊長
Kazami and Jun couldn't hide their bewilderment.
何？本来の役割に戻るだけだ。お前たちが落ち着くまでの一時的な交代でもいい。もろもろのサジを肩代わりするのでもいい。とにかく少し俺を頼れ。特に橘、お前はいろいろ背負い込みすぎだ。
It's not like she did it because she wanted to, though. Kazami felt quiet in what appeared to be hesitation.
聞けないか？それじゃ命令する。シリウスの隊長としてな。
Watase clicked his heels and spoke in a sharp voice.
原告をもって、橘風見副隊長、森部淳隊員は、笠崎渡瀬隊長の指揮下に入れ。
Those words came very naturally out of Watase's mouth. Kazami and Jun's bodies trembled.
副将!
And like that, strength instantly returned to Kazami and Jun's eyes. They both clicked their heels and replied.
はっ 橘風見副隊長、笠崎渡瀬隊長の指揮下に入ります。
I hit my microphone.
森部純隊員、隊長の指揮下に入ります。
よろしい。
Watase smiled and gave them both a pat on the shoulder.
なんてな。まあ形だけのもんだ。基本的には今まで通りで頼む。
He's like, I still have no idea what I'm doing.
俺は相変わらずの記憶喪失だしな。でもまあ体力と根性だけは変わってないみたいだから、上下関係気にせずこき使ってくれよ。
He said that in the friendliest voice he could muster in an attempt to relieve their tension. But Kazami responded meekly.
いえ、お願いします。
よし、じゃあせっかく手に入れたレベル6のカード、それを使って前に進もう。檜山が残してくれたんだ。無駄にしちゃいかん。
I guess I'll crank that up? June quietly nodded at that.
そうだね。いつまでも落ち込んではいられないよ。
That's right. June turned to the others and spoke in a voice brimming with bravado.
火は消えた。カードも見つかった。だからもう第6エリアまで私たちを遮るものはない。
Let's do it.
そうだ、その意気さ。なんせお前のキャッチフレーズは
カンと書いてジュンと読むだったね。自分で言ったくせに忘れかけてたよ。
Okay.
ありがとね、隊長。
Aww. June's eyes had regained their natural spark.
何、部下のテンションを保つのも隊長の役目さ。
Watase said that with a smile, then turned back to Ukita and the others.
大変お待たせしたな。そっちのみんなは行けるか？
ええ、大丈夫よ。いつでも行けるわ。
こちらは問題なしだ。
はい。
Watase nodded when he heard their answers. Kazami then gently placed a hand on his shoulder.
ありがとうございます、隊長。
Oh, I love this so much. Can we just end the game here? Can we just roll credits, please? It's the perfect ending. And with that, and said that with a wide smile. One that had seemed sad, yet mixed with a small hint of joy. They decided to leave Hiyama's body where it was. They set his axe against the door as a gravestone of sorts. And with that, the elevator hall had become his temporary tomb. I hope that axe doesn't come back to like haunt us. You know those games where everybody goes crazy and like they start just brandishing weapons? Yeah, I hope it's not one of those. And so, with Watase now leading them, the group all headed for Area 5. The card slot at the B2 security gate had been incinerated, so they went back up to B1 and opened the door that had remained shut up until now. Watase checked his Procyon as soon as it opened.
頼むぞ。
If it was a contaminated zone, then everything would have been for nothing. However, the reading was 3,451 millisieverts within the safety standard.
よし、行ける。みんな急ごう。
そうね。監視カメラの映像でも天川くんたちはこっち方面に逃げてたし。
Kazami's eyebrows twitched when she heard the survivors' names.
確かにこの先に要救助者がいる可能性は高いですね。だね。もう火に悩まされる心配もないし、ここからは要救助者と AD のことを第一に考えよう。
Jun's voice also had a trace of hope to it. Though both of them were still recovering from shock, it seemed that they were slowly returning to normal. Thank God. Watase grinned slightly and walked through the connecting passageway. And then entered Area 5. Area 5, Outer Ring B1. The walls and the ceiling were both white, making the place a bright and sanitary block.
ここはまた今までと随分雰囲気が違う。
Yeah, it looks untouched.
なんか病院みたいな場所ね。
The fact that it was an overly clean The fact that it was overly clean had somewhat had a cold atmosphere and was indeed reminiscent of a hospital.
おっさん、このエリアは何だ？
ここはシニアフェロー、上級研究員たちの実験棟さ。
Senior fellows?
僕らジュニアフェロー、つまり通常
You're
研究
junior?
員が
Oh, that's right. I forgot he's
出入りす
young.
るよりはるかに高度な設備が整っている区画。
My bad. I forgot he just has like gray hair.
部屋数も多いし、みんなで手分けした方が良さそうだね。
Probably.
ではチーム分けは？
第4エリアを捜索した時とほぼ同じでいいか？俺と森部と先生、そして立花とおっさんと有利で。
ええ、それで結構です。
Okay, cool. Taking the lead. But even though he'd been the one to suggest it, Watase was a bit concerned that Kazami wouldn't be with him. He walked over to her and whispered,
立花、本当に大丈夫か？
ご心配なく。それより森部をお願いします。
"Oh, she's being big sis."
分かった。それじゃあ俺たちは内周島を捜索しよ
う。了解しました。我々は外周島を。了解。それじゃ行きましょうか。
Waltus's group then headed for the inner ring right away. Oh, this one's a little burnt. Area 5, Inner Ring B1. Enna started talking to herself in a low voice as they walked down the halls.
火はもう消えて、捜索はしやすくなったけど。
Oh god, I didn't realize there was gonna be so many people. Wait, what? Oh god, hang on. I'm gonna go back real quick and we're gonna save. Because that is way more people than I was thinking was gonna be here.
天川くんたち、大丈夫かしら?
There was a small ring of impatience in her voice. Her concern had probably been reignited after having come across yet another body.
先生、やっぱり生徒のことが心配か？
そりゃね、教師だからということもあるけど、天川くんや鳥羽さんとは特に親しかったから。
Okay, but why?
個人的にも仲が良かったってわけだ。
そうね。教師は平等でなくてはならないとは思うけど、あの二人は傍から見ていてなんとも微笑ましい子たちなのよ。いいカップルというか。
Okay. It was at that point that Jun cut in.
わかるよ。いい子だもんね。夏彦くんもましろちゃんも。
そういえば森部もあの映像の高校生たちとは面識があると言っていた。
Yeah, we're like the only ones who don't know who they are.
そうなんだよ。知り合ったのはつい何日か前なんだけど、私を慕ってくれてさ。
But there was something about her choice of words that caught Watase's interest.
なあ、もう一人はどうなんだ？さっき会った三宮という子は。
彼女については私もちょっとわからない部分が多いのよ。
Is she a new student?
わからない。
実は彼女はね、1週間前にうちの学校に転校してきたばかりなの。天川くんたちとはすぐに友達になってたみたい。
She looks like the friendly type.
そうか。
But why had she run away from the rescue squad as soon as she saw them? It made even less sense when one considered that her own teacher had been with them too. So, if even Teach doesn't know how to answer to that... Just then, a sudden thought crossed Watase's mind.
そういえばあの子、AD について質問した途端逃げ出したな。
え？
ほら、ここは汚染区域だ。AD は投与したのかって俺が質問しただろ。
そうだったかしら。でもそれがどうかしたの？
いや、ひょっとしてあの子、自分の持っている AD を俺たちに奪われると誤解したんじゃないのか。
I don't know, you got the rescue worker look, right?
そんなことってあると思う？担任教師とレスキュー隊員に対して、そこまで不信感を抱くかしら。
いや、わからんぞ。誰にとっても AD は貴重だし、閉じ込められているこの状況じゃ疑心暗鬼にもなりかね。
An unpleasant silence followed. Jun quickly chuckled.
何バカなこと言ってんの隊長。そんなことあるわけないじゃん。そんなことより捜索だよ。時間ないんだからテキパキ行こう。
Yeah, fair enough.
そうか。まあそうだな。
Let's look before we run out of time and we use up all of our AD, right? Watase dismissed his suspicions and picked up the pace. They checked all the rooms in the inner ring. Though this was the Senior Fellows Laboratory Division, the rooms didn't look much different from the labs and offices they'd seen in other areas. They didn't find any survivors or AD. But the last room they visited was clearly different from every other room in the facility.
ここは医務室か。
ここなら AD があるかもしれないわね。それ以外にも役立つものがあるかもしれないよ。探そう。
おう。
The group fired themselves up and began looking through the room. As expected, there were multiple medical devices lying around. There was a medical bed, a small oxygen tank and respirator, and a blood transfusion kit. There was also something that looked like a giant closet. Could it be? Watase reached for the closet and opened it. A cold wave blew out of it when he did. It seemed it was not a closet, but rather a refrigerator. I could have told you that was a refrigerator just by looking at it. Watase, are you sure you have a little, it's just amnesia? You don't have a little bit more brain damage? Inside were bags with red liquids. Each bag labeled either A, B, O, or AB, so blood. Blood packets? The fridge was apparently used to store blood until it was needed for a transfusion. So this is basically your run-of-the-mill doctor's office, like the one you'd find at a hospital. But that wasn't it. There wasn't any AD at all. Watase gave up and closed the fridge.
隊長、何かあった？
いや、こっちはダメだな。酸素吸入器や輸血キットは使い道がありそうだが、とりあえず今は必要なさそうだ。
こっちもだよ。AD のカラーアンプルは結構あったんだけど、中身の入っているものは一本もないよ。
Jun held out an empty ampule and medical box. The researchers and other staff had most likely taken them and run during the evacuation.
くそ、当て外れか。
まあ、夏彦くんたちがここで AD を見つけて持って行ったのかもしれないけ
That's
ど。
possible. They might be taking
だ
it.
ったらむしろいいことかな。
いや、楽観はできないだろう。
Okay.
数
Well,
が足りるとは限らないし。
you don't have to shoot down the idea right away, okay? Just then, Enna spoke up.
でも AD の代わりにいいものがあったわ。
Oh yeah? Did you find DA?
ほら、カイロン。
Chiron. Enna showed them a full tube of medicine. The label read Septic Chiron. Underneath the name was the manufacturer, Betelgeuse New Treatments?
何なんだこれ。
Yeah, what is that?
万能の傷薬ってところかな。まるでボンドでくっつけるみたいに小さな傷だったら塞いじゃうの。
Okay.
役立ちそうだな。
Yeah, that sounds good actually.
一人一本ずつ持っていきましょう。
Enna said that, then distributed the Chiron amongst the three of them.
しかし、ここでの成果はこれだけか。
仕方ないよ。一旦回収塔に戻ろう。
The group then left the infirmary. Doesn't Enna need one? Like, isn't she pretty badly hurt? Watase's group went back to the outer ring through the connecting passageway. And when they got there, they heard the sound of Kazami's group voice echoing in the hallway.
だから危険です。こんなものを飲んでは。
Get it out of your mouth. What are you drinking?
しかし、もう乾きも限界なのだよ。
確かに、正直、辛いです。
It seemed they were arguing about something, so Watase's group ran over and intervened.
どうした？ AD でも見つかったのか？
隊長、違うんです。AD も要救助者も見つからなかったんですが。
Yeah, same for us.
こんなものが見つかってね。
Ukita then showed the rest of the group what he had held between his arms. There were 6 plastic 500 milliliter bottles that read distilled water. just enough for everyone.
水があったのか。
ああ、薬品の調合用のもののようだ。
しかし内部被曝の可能性があるため飲むべきではないと申し上げていたのですが。
Okay, so it's not the fact that the cap is open, it's because they're in plastic bottles in a highly radiated area, or somewhat radiated area. However, everyone gulped when they saw the water. Just as Ukita and Yuri said, their throats were parched like a desert. True, they couldn't be sure if it was safe to drink, but...
私は多少危険でも飲みたいわ。椿山さんも？
いや、それがむしろ妥当だ。これは金属製の薬棚に入っていたから放射線に汚染されている可能性は極めて低い。無論ペットボトルの中に死の灰が混入している可能性もゼロだ。水道水とは違うのだよ、水道水とは。
Okay. Now that he mentioned it, Kasami had said earlier that there was a chance that the water in the facility was contaminated by radiation. But that was tap water she'd been talking about. Water that was openly exposed to that radiation. The water in plastic bottles was, in theory, safe, just like Ukita had said.
じゃあ立花、飲んでもいいんじゃないのか。
しかし万が一のことがあっては。
Ooh.
何をごちゃごちゃ言ってるのよ。
Anna, you need to cut back the sass, okay? I'm starting to like you. Anna said that and snatched a plastic bottle out of Ukita's hands. Anna unscrewed the cap and took a giant swig of water before Kazami even had the time to stop her. But a second later, she started choking.
先生、
何か混入物が？いえ、勢いよく飲んだからちょっとむせちゃっただけ。
Okay. The group all breathed a sigh of relief.
それより皆さんもどう？死ぬほど美味しいわよ。ただの水をこんなに美味しく感じたの初めてよ。
Enna broke out into an entranced smile. This only caused more and more people to give in to their desires.
僕も飲むぞ。
私も。
With that, Ukita and Yuri suddenly snapped into action by taking their own plastic bottles and drinking them. Kazami let out a defeated shout. She'd probably realized that no fear of internal radiation exposure could keep them away from the allure of water.
すまん立花、俺も飲む。
私も。仕方ありませんね。まあ安全そうなことは確かです。
Yeah, I mean, we're gonna die of thirst if we don't. Kazami also caved in. In the end, everyone took a plastic bottle for themselves. They unscrewed the caps with trembling hands and drank away while being careful not to choke on it. Fresh water was soaking into Watase's parched throat. Even though the water was at room temperature and therefore not cold at all, it was unbelievably tasty.
生き返った。
なんかもう涙出そう。では喉が潤ったところで
Kazami's like,
捜索に話を戻し
just
ましょう
drop
か。
this and let's just go, okay? Kazami said this in a slightly uncomfortable voice. The rest of the group all promptly nodded.
外周島では水しか見つけられなかったわけですが、内周島では？
こっちも空振りだ。傷薬が見つかっただけさ。
結局この回では収穫はなしね。
Everyone's shoulders slumped at Enna's comment.
まあまあ気を落とさずに捜索を続けようよ。
I like June when she's so like forward thinking.
じゃあ次はこのエリアの地下2階だ。非常階段から降りよう。
The group started walking again after finishing that discussion. But when they got to the staircase, Watase noticed something odd about the wall in front of it. Located on the wall was a small plate that read "Emergency." Right below it was a keypad. Wow, I can't read. Keypad of sorts, labeled from 0 to 9.
おい、みんなちょっと待ってくれ。
It's like when I do these long, and I'm not even like I'm barely in this right now, but like my reading ability just drops in these long plays.
これ、なんだと思う?
It's an emergency button. The group turned to Watase and gathered around the keypad.
なんだろう。
わからんな。非常用の電話回線か何かだろうか。
Watase randomly pressed the buttons, but nothing happened. He didn't hear any dialing or anything.
電話だとしても壊れているようですね。通信機器はとことん全滅か。使えないものに執着してもしょうがないわよ。行きましょう。
そうだな。
Watase nodded and was about to walk off. Yuri, what you doing? But Yuri didn't budge an inch. She stared firmly at the emergency plate.
どうした、ユーリ?
It's been a little bit since I've given her some confidence. Yuri turned around in surprise at Watase's voice.
なんか気になることでもあるのか?
いえ、ちょっと疲れてきただけです。
Now that she mentioned it, Yuri's face was a little pale.
大丈夫か? なんならどこかで休んでいるか?
But just as Watase asked that,
何やってるのよ。先に行くわよ。
Enna said that and entered the stairwell. Watase ignored her and spoke to Yuri in the kindest voice he could manage.
出口もきっともうすぐだ。頑張ろう。
Her voice was frail, but she still obeyed Watase. Watase and Yuri headed towards the outer ring stairwell with the rest of the group, Enna already out of sight. The room was pitch black. He couldn't see Enna anymore. She must have already gone downstairs.
しかし、なんでこんなに暗いんだ?
蛍光灯が切れているようですね。皆さん、足元にお気をつけください。
The group obeyed and slowly descended the staircase. But when he made it just halfway,
なんだ?
Watase felt a tremor at his feet and instinctively came to a halt. And right after that,
これは?
It's called save time is what it's called. Let me save.
階段が傾き始めてる。
Okay.
皆さん引き返して。この階段崩れます。
I'm gonna go with Kazami more than Enna, whatever it is. Actually, yeah, I'll go with this. I was like, I don't know if I should, but I will.
走って早く。
Because I'm pretty sure Kazami's gonna tell us to head back, Enna's gonna say we need to push forward, and the stairs are gonna collapse. Watase and the others ran up the stairs. And just when they thought they'd all made it to the top, the staircase tore apart with a thunderous roar. Whew. Is Enna with us or is she dead? I shouldn't phrase it like that, but that's my immediate thought. Watase's voice was faint. The group had just barely escaped from the collapsing staircase with their lives.
まさか階段が崩れ落ちるなんて。
なんとか降りることはできないかね。
Watase took a look into the stairwell, but the collapsed stairs blocked the door, meaning it was unlikely they could get in to the other side.
おい先生、聞こえるか?
However, there was no reply. It seemed she'd gone to some other room to continue the search.
やばい。先生と分断されちまった。
だから単独行動はいけないとあれほど。仕方ないよ。来週島の非常階段から降りて合流しよう。
The group nodded and headed for the inner ring. But the staircase there had also collapsed.
他のエリアから降りるか?
ええ。では。
Kazami took out her PDA and began muttering to herself.
こことここの階段がダメでしたので。
She placed X marks on the staircases on the map.
遠回りになりますが、一旦第6エリアに行きましょう。
The group nodded again and headed for Area 6 this time. But, thanks to the fire, the security slot that controlled the gate to Area 6 was out of order. Sliding the card into it did nothing.
ついてないな。外周島側の通路を試そう。
Watase added another X mark on his PDA's map and headed for the outer ring. But the connecting passageway to the outer ring was buried in rubble. Whew, they are just not having any luck. The passageway was completely blocked off by collapsed pieces of ceiling and walls. And on top of that, it appeared that the hole in the ceiling didn't connect to surface floors.
おい、これまずいんじゃないか。
Kazami gritted her teeth and checked her PDA.
第6エリア側の連絡通路は両方ダメ。階段も通行不能。
となると地下2階に降りる方法がないね。
第4エリアの地下2階から入ることはできませんか？
残念ながら外周島のカードスロットは火災で消失していました。
内周島は汚染区域だし。
ということはまさか。
そう、行き止まりってわけだ。
Watase gritted his teeth. All their ways forward were completely cut off.
先生が心配だ。なんとかして地下に降りるしかないな。
汚染区域の中にある連絡通路を使う？
いえ、汚染区域を全員で通り抜けるのは危険すぎます。
どうしましょう？
弱ったな。せめてエレベーターが動いててくれればいいのに。
Ukita bemoaned this in a voice devoid of hope. But that comment suddenly lit a light bulb in Watase's mind.
もしかしたらあそこから降りることができるかもしれないぞ。
え、どこですか？
こっちだ。ついてきてくれ。
Watase then ran off, with the rest of the group following close behind. He finally stopped at the elevator hall.
隊長？エレベーターは動かないんだよ。
He's like, oh no, I forgot! No, that'd be
分
awesome.
かってるよ。だがひょっとすると。
Watase clasped the elevator doors and pried them open. The elevator car was apparently resting on the surface floors. Watase looked into the elevator shaft, then yelled.
やっぱりだ。
There was a ladder there.
これはメンテナンス用の。確かにこれなら下まで降りられそうです。
Very echoey.
結構な高さがあるけど、みんな大丈夫かな？
なんとか降りられそうだ。下を見なければ。
よし。それじゃあ一人ずつ降りようか。
What about Yudi? Is she okay with it? But Yudi's face went white as a sheet at that moment. I knew it.
私、こんなとこ降りるなんて無理です。
大丈夫ですよ、ユーリさん。我々がフォローしますから。
そうだよ。頑張ろうよ、ゆりちゃん。
I'll stick with her for now. But there was no way they could leave Yudi there. It was too dangerous to split the group up any further.
よし。一人で降りるのが無理なら、俺が背負って降りてやろうか。
Yudi stared at Watase with wide eyes. Uh-oh. Is she going to reject me again? Watase grew nervous for a moment, but after hesitating for a second, Yudi nodded.
わかりました。
Aw,
お願いします。
just don't let go, okay? You gotta hang tight.
そうか。任せとけ。
では、私が先に降り、万が一に備えて下で待機しています。
Oh, Kasami?
森部と浮田さんは
Good thinking.
先に降りて椿山さんを探してください。
了解。
そうしよう。
So with that, the group decided to head down to B2 through the elevator shaft. Jun and Ukita went first, followed by Kasami. Their voices soon echoed up from the bottom. Oh, they sound so far away.
できるだけ早く来てくれたまえよ。
了解しました。それでは隊長、どうぞ。
After listening to all that, Watase and Yuri got ready to go down. Okay, what's going on? I'm gonna back out for now. Yuri silently wrapped her arms around Watase's neck. Watase made sure her body was held securely by the rope and then leapt into the shaft. He then slowly descended the ladder. He could feel Yuri's body trembling slightly through his back. Oh! Yuri didn't answer. She just held on tight to Watase's neck so she could keep steady. Watase climbed down the ladder slowly so that his body rocked as little as possible. A short time later, Yuri whispered into his ear. Oh, Yuri. Also, I'm gonna remove this real quick. I like the little detail of the rope like wrapped around her so she won't fall. Like they mentioned the rope, but the text bar kind of hid it. Watase's cracked ribs suddenly began hurting again when she asked this, but he didn't let that show. Aww. Watase thought he heard Yuri let out a faint chuckle. The air grew silent again. Yuri spoke up again as if she hated that silence. Yeah, ask away. I am slowly becoming Watase. Watase was happy that Yuri was actively striking up a conversation with him for the first time since they'd met. So after thinking about it for a while, he answered honestly. Aww. Yuri didn't say anything. Watase felt a tinge of embarrassment come over him. It's probably something. Okay, what's the third main factor? Really? I've never heard of that. Is that a thing that actual, like, people in extreme danger can experience? That's insane. Huh. I'm really curious about that, actually. After considering what Yuri had just told him, Watase suddenly remembered something. I forgot that was a thing. Yeah, tell me your theories. Come on, Yuri.
きました。やるべきことが声として響くんじゃないでしょうか。
True. All right. Don't sour the mood, okay?
記憶が失われても漠然とした思いは残るっていう話もあります。隊長さんの心の中には人を助けなきゃっていう強い思いがあったんじゃ。
なるほど。そうかな。
That was a much more fitting mindset than the idea that someone was ordering him around with BC. That desire to save Yuri that he'd felt back then was most certainly not vague.
だから俺は知識も記憶もなくてもみんなを助けようと必死になってるのにな。
そうですよ、きっと。
His heart warmed at Yuri's whisper. Even when you lose your memories, they leave a vague feeling behind, huh? In terms of abilities, there was probably a world of difference between past him and his current self. But the core of his heart and mind might be the same with or without memories. His heart felt a bit lighter when he thought of it that way. Aww, so sweet. The end of the ladder grew closer and closer as Yuri stuttered. We're already there, huh? Watase pushed aside his desire to stay the way they were now and got off the ladder. Yuri breathed a sigh of relief against the back of his neck when she heard that. I hope so. I hope there's not like a, another raging fire or anything. Kazami untied the rope and helped Yuri down to the floor. It's so adorable. That's right. She was brave. She did so well. And so Watase and the others pried open the elevator doors and entered B2. Good. I'm glad we finally made it. Area 5, Outer Ring, B2. The area they'd struggled so hard to get to was more or less the same structure as its B1 counterpart. Laboratories lined the hallway. Kazami glanced at one of them and then muttered to himself, or herself, sorry. That's what was written on the plate in front of the room. Just then, they heard voices coming from the room. Ukita? It was Ukita and Enna. It seemed they'd already regrouped. Watase's group entered the room in high spirits. But what they found was a room filled not with the joy of reunion, but a somewhat dark atmosphere. I was actually wondering if we should have waited outside the door to see what they were talking about. You know what I mean? Ukita was glaring at Enna.
Oi, 今度は何事だ? ああ、君たちか。いや、椿山さんがこの部屋にある機材やらをいじくり回していたからね。
Okay, why?
だから謝っているでしょ。脳科学実験室という部屋名が気になったんですもの。
Yeah, that happened with Kazami too. When she said that, it finally hit Watase just how off that sounded.
そういや妙だな、おっさん。原子力の研究に脳科学って何か関係あるのか?
They got a point.
あるとも。そもそもこのラボの正式名称は原子力生物学機構第6研究所。原子力科学と生物学を同時に研究しているんだ。だからこそ AD のような薬品も開発できたのだ。
I mean, I guess it makes sense, but there's some shady stuff going on here.
なるほどな。おっさんはどっちの研究をしてたんだ?
申し訳ないが、その手の質問には一切答えられない。
Really?
なんでだ? 守秘義務というやつだ。部外者の君たちに研究内容を漏らすわけにはいかないのさ。国策に関わる研究もあるからね。 例外は認められない。単独で探るなどもってのほかだ。
わかります。ですが捜索のために研究室に入るのは認めていただけますね。
今さら何よ。状況が状況だ。もちろん認める。
It's like, we need AD, so you're gonna let us in.
だが第5エリアから先は秘密のレベルも極めて高い。ここから生きて出ることができたとしても、ここで見たことを外で公言しない方がいいだろう。思いもよらないトラブルに巻き込まれる可能性があるからね。
Ukta's words had a heavy weight to them.
その辺のことは脱出後に考えよう。今はまず AD の捜索だ。
Watase joined the others in searching the room, though he had a bad feeling weighing in on his mind. Naturally, the large machines in the room caught everyone's eyes. Kazami inquisitively spoke up.
MRI 装置、CT スキャナー。それにこっちは脳波計測器ですか。
おお、ずいぶん詳しいんだね。
ええ、救急の資格も持ってますので、隊長も救急の知識はありましたよ。
Oh, me too?
私も簡単な手術くらいならできる自信はあるよ。まあやったら犯罪だけど。
Why? They searched as they talked but found no AD. Yuri then spoke up.
なんかこの部屋何もない気がします。
僕もそう思う。他の部屋を捜索しようじゃないか。
They're trying to get us out of here, aren't they?
そうだな。じゃあ地下2階も例によって2チームに分かれて捜索しよう。
いいですね。では組み合わせは先ほどのままで。
I mean, but like, did Anna find anything, or? But Watase interrupted Kazami before she could finish.
いや、それじゃちょっと効率が悪い。内周棟の方が外周棟より狭いんだし、4人と2人で分かれよう。内周棟は俺と森部で調べるよ。
Jun and Anna's eyes widened when they heard that.
あら、じゃあ私は立花さんのチームに入ればいいのかしら。
そうですね。いいと思います。
It's not a bad idea. Have two rescue workers and then... Yeah, have two rescue workers and then 3 civilians with a rescue worker. Seems fair. Jun, what's wrong? Yuri, I'll go back real quick. Discussing the subject in detail would be just a waste of time. Watase quickly wrapped things up and dashed out of the room with Jun. But what's my circle thing? She called out to him as they ran through the hallway.
ねえねえ隊長、どうしてあんな提案したの？
え？まあ大した理由じゃないさ。ユーリが疲れてそうだったのと、それとお前となら2人でもうまく連携取って捜索をこなせると思ってな。
Okay, alright.
ほほー、大きく出たね。そろそろ勘が戻ってきた？
Her with her little cheeky cat smile. I guess her ribbon looks like she has cat ears. Maybe she's a cat person.
記憶は戻らんが、勘の方は多少な。
いいね。頼りにしとくよ。
Yay! While chatting, they finally approached the connecting passageway to the inner ring. That's not good. But were stopped dead by the shrill ringing of the Procyon alarm. The reading was 8,650 microsieverts.
汚染区域。
まずい、下がるぞ。
Watase and Jun immediately ran out of the connecting passageway and shut the gate. The ringing stopped when the gate shut, but it'd probably go off again if they reopened it. Watase gritted his teeth and thought the situation over. What lay ahead of them was B2 of Area 5's inner ring. In other words, the block right next to the contaminated zone where that girl had gone running off into. Then that means both blocks are completely contaminated, huh? To search this place would be dangerous. There was a chance he'd faint again. Watase hesitated and...
どうしたの隊長？
いや、汚染区域を捜索したいと言ったら、お前止めるか？
なんでそんなことを？
なあ森部、思い出してくれ。第4エリアであった少女のこと。
ルイーズちゃんのこと？
そうだ。 あの少女が消息を絶った場所は
Watase took out his PDA and pointed to the map with one hand as he explained.
第4エリア内周棟地下2階だ。もし彼女がセキュリティカードを持っていたとしたら隣の第5エリアに逃げた可能性がある。
つまりこの連絡通路の先だね。
だがどちらのエリアも汚染区域だ。それを知らずに徘徊していたとしたら
あの時の隊長と同じく気を失って倒れている。
Yeah, but she might be long gone if that's the case.
仮に気絶して倒れていた
Yeah, yeah.
もう手遅れかもしれない。だからって放っておくわけにはいかない。違うか。
Alright, being noble.
確かに。それに AD も探さなきゃいけないし。
June thought it over for a bit, then finally made up her mind and spoke.
よし隊長、捜索するなら私も行くよ。
Kazami's gonna be mad.
お前も？
ただし3分間だけね。時間を限定して大急ぎで回ろう。
Okay, I think that's fair.
地図を見る限り部屋は6部屋。だったら2人で1部屋1分ずつ回れば。
ちょっと待て。危険だぞ。
何言ってんの。隊長1人で行く方が危険じゃん。
Oh, she getting sassy? Jun's face and voice were strained, as if she were trying to hide her fear. That's right, Moriba's got to be scared too. 8,650 micro seatbelts? A level of radiation that most certainly kill you if you're exposed to it for a mere hour. It was highly unlikely that anyone could look at that number without feeling the slightest ounce of fear. Yet here Jun was, hiding that. To think a body that small is brimming with such courage. Watase spoke to Jun, making sure to hide his admiration.
確かにそうすべきだな。汚染区域に入るなら2人じゃなきゃダメだ。
そうだよ、その方が早く回れるから。
違う。倒れちまった時のためだ。
Okay.
一度起きたことが二度ないとは限らない。さっきは無事だったお前が今度は倒れないとは限らない。だから2人で行くんだ。どっちかが倒れたら
So maybe I did make the right choice.
命を預け合うっての？
あ、そういうことだ。
いいね、そういうの。
Jun's strained face slowly changed. A bold smile soon took its place.
出る隊長、そういう関係をバディって言うんだ
The
よ。
body system?
バディ。
Nobody watches heavyweights, right? Like nobody knows what I'm talking
相
about.
棒っていう意味さ。レスキューの現状じゃバディ同士の信頼関係が何よりも大事なんだ。普段は私と副隊長がバディなんだけど、今日はどちらかといえば隊長が私の相棒だもんね。
Yep,
相棒か。悪くないな。
it does sound nice. Watase returned to Jun's smile. It was likely that their two smiles were mirroring each other. The two of them silently held out their hands, then shared a firm handshake.
いいか森田。捜索時間は3分だ。
3 minutes.
時間が過ぎたら捜索途中でもここに戻ってこい。
うん、そのくらいが妥当だね。2人とも倒れちゃったら元も子もないし。
それとこのことは立花に
もちろん分かってるさ。
We're keeping secrets. I hope this doesn't get Jun killed. If I die, it's whatever. But if Jun dies, I will be very sad. Watase and Jun set their watch timers to 3 minutes, then turned back to the gate.
よし行くか相棒。
Let's do it.
おう、
They both let out a gallant cry and charged straight into the contaminated zone. You might not want to breathe in all that radiation. The place was scorched black. They were now in a battle against time. However, a dull pain ripped through Watase's head. Is this... It was the same headache and numbness in his skin that he'd felt when he'd last entered a contaminated zone. So what? Watase pushed it aside and continued running down the hallway.
森部、真ん中の部屋で落ち合おう。
了解。
He and Jun split up at the fork in the The room itself was just as charged as the hallway. Watase then opened his mouth.
誰かいるか？いたら返事してくれ。
But there was no response and no AD to be found. Watase checked the place for a minute, then ran out of the room. He immediately went to the next room. But there was nothing there. I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing that there's no survivors here. If one of them had been lying unconscious here, they would definitely have been exposed to a fatal level of radiation by now. Watase burst out of the room as he thought that. He then saw Jun running up to him at that exact moment.
森部、そっちはどうだ？
3部屋回ったけど何もなかったよ。
こっちもだ。じゃあ残りはこの部屋だけか。
Watase said that and looked at the last room. There was a plate attached to the door. He had trouble reading it because of all the soot covering it, but
ドクターミヨコ天下。
something played back in Watase's head as soon as he saw that name.
先生、この高校生たちの名前は？
男の子が天川夏彦。
Oh.
少年の母親もこの施設に勤めていた。
This isn't the time to be remembering this stuff.
ここって夏彦くんのママの研究室じゃない？
なるほど、ここが。
But before Watase finished that thought, what? He saw a strange sight flash before him for a second. It looked like someone had been crying. Watase felt a bad feeling overtake him and guide his voice.
森部、入るぞ。
The two of them ran inside. Unlike the other rooms, the fire hadn't done any harm to this place.
レイズちゃん、いたら返事して。
However, there were no survivors to be seen. Was that vision I had just a delusion of mine? Watase thought and looked around the room when his alarm suddenly rang.
もうか。
We're probably gonna find something if we stick back, but we'll probably also die. Let's see what happens here.
戻ろう隊長。3分経ったら戻るって約束したじゃん。
Watase hesitated for a moment. They'd confirmed that there were no survivors here, but they couldn't say the same about AD. He was also concerned about the strange vision he just had. Okay, let's do it. His mind made up, Watase addressed Jun.
森部、お前は先に戻れ。
I'll be there in a literal minute, maybe even 30 seconds.
え、隊長は？
俺はこの部屋をもう少し調べてから戻る。ここには何かありそうな気がするんだ。
Watase said that over his shoulder and then started searching the room.
何言ってんの隊長。これ以上汚染区域にいたら。
いいから早く行け。俺の自己満足のためにやってんだから。
じゃあ私も残る。
Ah, Jun. Watase was about to shout, "You idiot! Go back!"
普
when
段の隊長はめちゃめちゃ勘が鋭かったんだ。その隊長が言うんならきっと何かあるんだよ。
oh, okay. Jun then immediately began helping the search.
じゃああと30秒
Let's
だけ
do
だ。
it. We don't have time to argue. There wasn't time to argue. Yeah, exactly. Watase checked behind the desk for something he was looking for. And while there weren't any survivors there, he did find a metal box.
メディカルボックスだ。
本当だ。中身は？
Please, please. Watase opened it up to find 5 ampules of AD.
やった。
Yes!
よし、上出来だ。回収塔に戻ろう。
Watase and Jun took the medical box and raced out of the room. Oh, I hope we didn't get over-contaminated. Watase and Jun let out a deep breath as soon as they made it back to the outer ring.
緊張したね。
でも、汚染区域に入った甲斐もあった。
Yeah, I think so. But Jun's face soon clouded over. Uh-oh.
あれ、
Uh-oh.
おい、どうした？
いやごめん。急に気分が。
Uh-oh. Jun? Jun covered her mouth and bent over.
森部、
隊長見ないで。ちょっと戻します。
In the Japanese, she's like, I'm gonna puke a little, like just a little bit, not a lot.
戻すって何を？あ、
Jun turned her back on Watase and threw up in the corner of the hallway. Watase watched all that in dumbfoundment. Is that a word? June soon finished vomiting and managed to smile on her pale face.
いや、お恥ずかしいところを見せました。
It's fine.
森部、お前もしかして放射線障害が。
何言ってんの？違うよ。
Why would you say that?
走ったり緊張したりして、ついでに疲れが言いに来ただけだよ。
Are you sure?
本当か。おい、ちょっと手首見せてみろ。
Watase grabbed June by the wrist.
何すんの？エッチ。
Really?
うるせえ、ちょっと黙ってろ。
June complied and Watase examined her vital checker. Normal. All 5 lights would be green, but this time one of them was bright red.
これ赤いじゃないか。体に異常が出てるんじゃないのか。
慌てないでよ。これ脈拍のインジケーターだよ。ゲした後だから脈拍が乱れてるだけだって。すぐ緑に戻るよ。ほら。
The light turned green shortly after June said that.
ほら、もう健康体。ジュンさん復活でござっすよ。
そうか。
I don't know, she's
ならいいんだが。
she's kind of pushing it pretty hard, right?
っていうか、体調こそ大丈夫？また頭痛とか起きてない？
I'm totally
俺は
fine.
平気だ。
Ridiculous headache, right? He then realized something. The strange feeling he'd felt when he'd entered the contaminated zone had vanished. So it really was the effects of the radiation. But that's why Watase was worried. Like him, June had also been in a contaminated zone twice. Watase was stronger than her, and even he'd fainted, meaning there's no guarantee someone with such a small body like June's would be okay.
何かあったらすぐ言えよ。
心配ありがとう、隊長殿。やっぱり今日も隊長優しいね。
何言ってんだよ。相棒を心配するのは当たり前だ。
Oh, they're partners. The two of them smiled at each other. Frail smiles, but smiles nonetheless.
それよりさ、とんだお宝見つけちゃったね。
そうだな。要救助者が見つからなかったのは残念だが、今回は随分早く見つかったな。
With the 5 he'd found in the contaminated zone, Watase now had 6 AD on him. They still had plenty of time left until the next injection, so they could take it easy for a while.
よし、それじゃあみんなのところに戻ろうよ。きっとみんな喜ぶよ。
We failed, everyone's dead, right? Is that what's gonna happen? Watase and Jun then ran off together. They headed for a large room in the outer ring. Kazami and the others were already there to greet them.
あら、早いですね、二人とも。
We
来週
sprinted.
島の捜索終わったのかね。
ああ、そしてそこで
AD を発見しました。
We did it! Everyone's eyes widened at once.
AD って何本ですか？
5本見つけて合計6本だよ。
素晴らしい。今回は早く見つかりましたね。
Yep.
あの防災マニュアルの通りね。第5エリアには大量に AD が配備されてたのよ。
これでひとまず安心だな。
They chose to keep the fact that the inner ring was contaminated a secret. With the search of it over, they didn't need to give the rest of the group any unnecessary worry.
ところでどうだった？
捜索の結果は？
The rest of the group's faces dimmed slightly.
それが、こっちは成果がなく、
It's fine.
AD も要救助者も見つかり
You
ません
didn't
で
have
した
to。risk your life like we did.
こんなものなら見つかったのだがね。
Ukta held out a bunch of security cards, all labeled level 6.
レベル6のカードがこんなに？
同じ部屋に3枚ありました。どうやらこのカードの管理、発行を行う役目の人がいたようですね。
もしくは施設内の監査を行う立場のものか。
Either way, they now had 4 level 6 cards. But there wasn't much use in having so many cards of the same level.
カードなんかどうでもいいわよ。それより要救助者の方が重要だわ。どうして全然見つからないのかしら。もう未捜索のエリアは
I really don't know where these kids went. Like, they are gone.
こうも見つからないのはなんだか妙な感じがするな。
It's almost like they're hiding from us. They'd already finished searching over 80% of the facility, meaning the survivors were either somewhere the group didn't know or were already dead. Is there any place we overlooked? Are their bodies there? The air grew heavily still as Watase's sentiments had spread to everyone else. But a timid voice rose as if to cut through all that.
そんなに暗く考えない方がいいと思います。
Thank you, Yuri.
今まで会わなかったってことは全員生きて
I
る
like that
って
mentality.
考えた方がいいんじゃないでしょうか。きっと第6エリアにみんないるんですよ。
Watase was astonished at the longest declaration he'd ever heard Yuri speak. But something gradually crept out of the depths of his stomach.
ですね。
She's getting more comfortable. She's breaking out of her shell. Aww. Yuri's peaceful smile dispelled the shadows shrouding everyone's faces.
確かに暗いことばかり考えていても仕方ないな。
That's right.
そうね。三宮さんをはじめとして3人ともしっかりした子たちだし。
よし。なら捜索を続けよう、みんな。
ええ。仮に彼らが脱出していなかったとしても、きっと第6エリアで会えるはずです。
The group all nodded at each other and started walking off. Their final destination was Area 6, where all of their hopes lay. And all of their despair will remain. The group opened the security gate and went through the connecting passageway. The Procyon alarm didn't go off, meaning they didn't have to worry about radiation here. And when they cleared the passageway... Oh, okay. They found themselves face to face with a bizarre room. Watase was speechless at the sight he was staring at. The room was more like something out of a factory than a research facility. Large machines, forklifts, cranes, and mountains of materials were lined up. The ceiling was also much higher than it was in other areas. It appeared that the room covered both B1 and B2. A catwalk surrounded the B1 area and encircled the entire floor.
なんだ、この場所は。
ここは開発棟、通称ファクトリーと呼ばれている場所
Gee,
だ。
I wonder why.
僕も初めて来たが、こんなひどいありさまになっているとはね。
The machines there had been burned to hell and back, just as Ukita said. The ladder leading up to the catwalks had been warped horribly, leaving them unreachable.
ここは火が特にひどかったようだ。
Just as Watase muttered that, something about to break? Something that looked like sand fell down from the ceiling.
天井が崩れかけているようですね。少々危険です。
Yeah, maybe we don't want
気
to
を
be
つけましょ
here.
う。
Maybe. June then checked her Procyon.
数値は3711ミリシーベルト。まだ安全基準値内だね。
ではこのファクトリーは広いし雑然としているようなので4人と2人で分かれましょうか。4人組のチームはファクトリーの捜索を、2人組のチームは内周島の捜索をするということで。
Sounds good to me. I think that's fine. No one offered any objections to that proposal.
よし。内周島の捜索は俺が担当しよう。
Watase then thought about who he should pair up with. But he couldn't make up his mind. Oh,
どうしたの隊長。早く誰か一人選んでよ。
ああ。
oh dear God. I mean, I guess if I had to pick, I would do... What? Why is Moribes? I don't know. Maybe like this? Watase nodded and looked over to the members of the group one more time. I should probably go for a good balance of gender and ability. Having a team of all men or one of only civilians would be a bad idea. But in the end, he still couldn't. Wait. Why am I losing? Hold on. I thought I had. Okay. So I guess I need to pick who's where, right? Well, Uksita can just be down. And I want to be with Tachibana, to be 100% honest with you. So if I do like, oh no, not that one. If I do like this, will that work? Maybe?
どうしたの隊長？
橘、組もうか。
Okay, let's do it.
そうですね。了解しました。
Kasami readily accepted Watase's proposal. Expected it? She probably didn't want to waste time talking.
森部たちはファクトリーの捜索を頼む。
了解。では早速捜索を開始しましょう。
With Kazami's command at the trigger, the group split up into their teams. The only thing I would be worried about is if Kazami could notice the ceiling crumbling and would be able to warn the others. But that's okay. Watase and Kazami first entered B2 of the inner ring.
このエリアにあの子たちが。
そう信じたいところです。
After that brief exchange, the two of them checked all the rooms in a hurry, all the while believing that they'd find the survivors in one of them. However, their search yielded no results.
いない？
お待ちください。地下1階を探してみましょう。
They headed for the stairs in accordance with Kazami's suggestion. But the inner ring's emergency staircase was unusable. Every staircase is crumbling. They must have been built by the same construction company, clearly, because they all failed. The part on B1 was intact, but everything below it had crumbled, leaving it impossible to climb.
またかよ。
参りましたね。ファクトリーは吹き抜け状になってるから階段はここしかないのに。またエレベーターシャフトを使いますか？
いや待て。どうにかいけないものか。
It was at that moment that Watase remembered what he had with him. The rope that we used on Yuri! The 10-meter rope he'd been carrying around this whole time.
これでなんとか登れないもんかな。
Watase calmly picked up some debris and tied the end of the rope to it. He then tossed the rope up and it caught on B1's staircase. He tugged it several times to test its strength, but it appeared the rope was firmly secure.
よし、いけるぞ。
ええ。我々なら問題なく登れる高さです。
That's true. If I had somebody else, we wouldn't be able to do this.
隊長はロープ登坂は特にお得意でしたからね。
Aw, shucks.
そうなのか。ならちょうどいい。
The two of them climbed the rope as they smiled at their playful exchange. The two of them then left the rope where it was. That way they could use it again when they had to go back down, and there was a chance they might need to climb back up anyway.
よし、それじゃあ捜索を続けよう。ここが最後の未捜索フロアだからな。
ええ。
The two of them then started searching the floor in high spirits. The first room they went to appeared to not have been touched by the fire at all. Kazumi spoke up as soon as they walked in.
プロキオンがありますね。
Why is one of those lying there? Watase looked closer to find the familiar device was lying in the corner of the room.
なんでこれがこんなところに？
プロキオンはラボから支給されたものです。施設内にあってもおかしくありません。
Oh, okay.
そうか。いずれにしろいいものを見つけたな。これからは3チームに分かれられる。
ええ。そんな事態が今後あるかは分かりませんが。
Yeah, I hope we don't have to. Still, the two of them decided to take it just to be safe. They looked around to see if there was anything else worth taking with them. Though they didn't find any AD, there was a bound stack of papers on the table that Watase took interest in.
防災マニュアル。
防災マニュアル？前にユーリさんが見つけたあれでしょうか？
いや、微妙に違うみたいだ。第5、第6エリア職員用と書いてある。
Okay. Watase and Kazami stood close together and read the manual. Most of it was more or less the same as the one Yuri had shown them, but there was a new page at the very end not present in the other manual. Disaster Prevention Manual 2030 edition for Area 5 and 6 staff. Regarding emergency evacuation routes, in the event of a fire, earthquake, or other such disasters, the elevators will automatically ascend to the surface floors and stay there. This is because there's a risk that the elevators could stop while in operation due to an unpredictable shock, therefore trapping their passengers. Please use the emergency staircases located in the block to evacuate. However, Area 6's outer ring does not have any emergency staircases due to security risks and the facility structure. Therefore, all staff should evacuate through the inner ring, but if a situation arises where that becomes too difficult, please evacuate through the cargo lift. Okay, regarding the usage of cargo lift for evacuation. Unlike the normal elevators, the cargo lift is extremely sturdy. In theory, it should be able to resist even magnitude 7 earthquakes and have very little risk of stopping. Therefore, all staff members are granted temporary permission to use the lift to evacuate during a crisis. Please use it to promptly evacuate to the surface. The same rights will also be granted in the event of a case N. Should evacuation of the facility become impossible due to a bulkhead lockdown, the cargo lift can be used to evacuate to a safe zone in the surface floors. That is good info. The two of them started trembling when they read that passage.
安全区域まで避難することができるとは、もしかして。
Might be good.
この状況下でも、そこからは地上に脱出できるってことか。
Watase and Kazami looked at each other. They were both grinning from ear to ear. After being trapped in the basement all this time, they'd finally found the clue they needed about the one escape route that still worked.
それってどこにあると思う？
さっきは気づきませんでしたが、あの焼けただれたファクトリーのどこかにあるんでしょう。しかし先に要救助者の捜索です。
Yeah, we can't leave the kids. I know.
要救助者を確保してなきゃ無意味ですから。
だな。
Watase shoved the manual into his pocket and ran out of the room. However, in the end, they went through all the rooms, yet found no hide nor hair of the survivors or any AD.
連絡通路も確認しよう。隅々まで探すんだ。
The two of them headed for the connecting passageway that led to the factory. But the passageway was blocked by debris further in, so they couldn't travel past that. The only thing up ahead was the factory, meaning that they'd completed their search of the inner ring. And we still found no children. Watase frowned in puzzlement as they turned around.
おかしいな。
Did they take the cargo lift and leave us?
確かに妙ですね。しかし、ファクトリーにいるのかもしれません。我々も戻って向こうの捜索を手伝いましょう。
Alright, fair enough.
そうだな。あるいはひょっとして彼らは。
But before Watase could say any more, he suddenly heard a sound at his feet. What's that? Watase looked down in surprise to see that there were cracks where Kazami was standing. The floor's giving away. Just as Watase thought that, time slowed down for him, and it will for me too, because I'm saving. He was seeing everything in slow motion. Kazami, don't you die on me. Kazami noticed a sudden change in her situation and tried to react immediately. But a second later, the floor at her feet collapsed. Uh-oh. Watase shot his hand out as fast as lightning and grabbed Kazami's arm. Pain ran through his cracked ribs instantly. But he put up with it and grasped Kazami's arm tightly. Dust blew up from the crumbled floor, but it soon began to clear up, revealing Kazami's face on the other side. How about we, lift her up before we breathe a sigh of relief?
隊長。
とっさに反応できてよかったぜ。実際大したもんだよな。このカササギ渡せってやつの体はさ。
See, this is weird because he's saying it's a guy's, like, this guy's body. I still feel like somebody else is in Watase's body. Kazami suddenly smiled when she heard that. Oh, it's so adorable.
隊長は記憶喪失でも
But don't die.
やっ
Please
ぱり
don't die.
私たちの隊長なんですね。
みたいだな。だが
Yeah, seriously,
感
get
心する
up.
のは後だ。引き上げるからそっちの手も貸してくれ。
はい。
Watase grabbed onto Kasami's hands and pulled her up in one great big motion.
ありがとうございました隊長。
怪我はないか。
はい。
そうか、よかった。しかし
How are we gonna get back over though? Because we kind of lost our way. Watase looked at the now partially collapsed passageway.
第6エリアはよほど火災によるダメージがひどかったんだな。
I also hope the ceiling didn't fall and like crush some of our other friends down below.
そうですね。他の皆さんは無事でしょうか。
早く戻ってみんなの無事を確認しよう。
Watase and Kazami then broke off into a dash. Oh, is it the other way? Okay, good. I thought it was our way back. The team climbed down the rope at the staircase and returned to factory on B2. Only to find the others running towards them.
隊長、何かあったの？
Oh, you know, the floor fell.
なんかドスンって音が鳴ったけど。
いや、大したことないさ。連絡通路が崩れただけだ。
So if it was anybody else, would I have dropped them? I wonder if there's certain people if you go up with, A, you have to be able to go up there. B, depending on their body weight, you might not have been like I'm thinking specifically Ukita may not have made it. But I don't know.
それより皆さん、要救助者等は見つかりましたか？
それがいないんだよ。
Yeah, so we have nobody.
隅々まで捜索したのだがね、要救助者の姿はどこにもない。
内州島にもいなかったんです。
Not a single person.
あ、こっちでも誰も見つからなかった。
The group had already finished exploring all the areas in Labo. But they hadn't found the survivors anywhere, not even any bodies of them.
じゃあ、いよいよ間違いないな。
え？
あの子たちはすでに搬出リフトから脱出したんだ。
I thought about it.
そう考えるのが自然ですね。
Jun and the others looked confused at Watase's proclamation.
搬出リフト？何それ？
ファクトリーのどこかに地上に脱出できるリフトがあるらしいのです。
ほら、これ見てくれ。
Watase said that and showed the disaster prevention manual he'd found earlier to the others.
そうか、こんな手があったのか。
確かにこれならいけそうね。
だろ？なあみんな、ファクトリーの中にそれっぽいリフトはなかったか？
見つからなかったけど、もしかしたらあれかも。
Jun turned around and looked at the corner of the factory. She was staring at the farthest wall from them, where, for some reason, a security gate stood.
なんであんなところにセキュリティゲートが？
不自然なところにあったから、私らも気にはなってたんだけどさ、セキュリティスロットが完全に消失してて、中に入れなかったんだ。
Because of course everything's burned.
でもファクトリー内で未捜索の場所はあのゲートの向こうだけ。搬出リフトってのがあるとしたら、あの向こうにあることは間違いないわ。
The whole group was all smiles. They only had 6 AD, but if they managed to escape, then they wouldn't need them anymore. Their journey full of hardships was finally coming to an end.
Yes.
It's not. I
どうにかし
guarantee
てあ
you
の
it's
ゲートを
not.
開けよう。
Are you kidding me?
例によってエアダクトから向こう側に行くことはできないの？
残念ながら天井が高すぎてエアダクトに入ることはできません。
Also, if the cargo lift has been used, can we call it back, or is it kind of a one and done deal?
じゃあゲートをエンジンカッターとかで壊すことは？
もう試してみたよ。簡易基地からカッター取ってきてね。でもちょっと切れ目が入ったくらいで、とても開きそうにない。
It's very strong.
くそ、そうかよ。
どうすれば開けられるんでしょう。
Watase looked at Yuri. The exit's right in front of us. We have to get that gate open no matter what it takes, so that we can save Yuri. But just as Watase thought this, he and everyone else suddenly heard a strange noise. dramatic rescue. I don't know if you guys probably can't see this because my face is over it, but that's what this chapter is called. So great. Watase instantly felt a shock run through his spine. Several large objects were falling from up above. Taken aback by this, he looked up to see the ceiling breaking apart.
Mina, ここから離れろ!
The ceiling started to collapse at the same time he shouted that. Uh-oh, Anna? Ukita, you're fine. Anna and Ukita screamed. Debris, pebbles, scraps of iron, steel frames, and iron plates came falling down one after another. Yuri tripped and fell on her backside. It was at that moment that a remarkably huge ceiling panel, one about 5 square meters big, fell straight towards her.
Yuri!
Uh-oh. Watase darted for Yuri and shielded her with his body. A moment later, an impact ran through Watase's back. He had intercepted the falling ceiling panel with his back. The panel itself was only about 20 kilograms, not at all that heavy. With Yuri lying under him, Watase got up on all fours and tried to push the panel up and off him with his back. I need to get this off of me quickly. But even more debris came falling down at that moment. His back was assaulted with impacts that passed through the panel. The panel's weight suddenly increased tenfold at the same time with great force. Watase tried to break away from it, but his body wouldn't respond. No! He had no way of estimating how much debris piled up on his back weight. 150 kilograms? 200 kilograms? Whatever it was so heavy that it felt like his arms and legs were going to break right then and there. But he locked eyes with Yuri just at that moment. Watase's face reflected in those eyes shrouded with fear and despair. I have to hang in there, or Yuri will be crushed with me. Watase filled his arms and legs with strength, supporting the weight of the debris. All he could think about was protecting Yuri. The sound of the ceiling caving in soon stopped. Leaving Watase and Yuri trapped under a mountain of debris. Yuri looked up at him with wide eyes. Just then, something leaked down onto her dusty cheeks. It was Watase's blood. Did I hit the back of my head too much? Watase ignored the pain and spoke.
Yuri, 安心しろ。絶対にお前を助けてやるからな。
Okay.
それより隊長さんが。
何？こんなのかすり傷だ。
Watase said that and gave her an awkward smile. Aww. Yuri looked like she was about to burst into tears. They then heard the voices of the others who'd managed to escape the rain of debris in time.
隊長、ユリさん、二人ともどこなの？返事をして。
いや、まさかこの瓦礫の下に。
生きてるのかね?
Yeah, we're good. I was gonna say we're fine, but I might not be fine. Yuri then started screaming as loud as she could so that the others would hear.
皆さん、私たちはここです。
Oh, that's like so loud for her.
早く瓦礫をのけてください。じゃないと隊長さんが。
でも、どうやって？
The gears in Watase's mind started turning. Oh, I'm saving. I know it quick saved, but I'm saving. I'll max both of them out. We'll see what happens. It would probably be very difficult to get rid of the debris with human hands. And the fact that his stamina would eventually run out meant that they had to act fast. Come on, think! I should be able to come up with something. What's the best way to make sure that Yuri survives? Watase then allowed himself to be guided by his instincts and began shouting to those outside the debris.
森部、すぐに簡易基地に行ってエアジャッキを取ってくるんだ。
ここからじゃ遠い。
いや、第一エリアを経由すればそれほど時間はかからないはずだ。橘と先生とおっさんは 俺の上の瓦礫をどけられるだけどけてくれ。
わかりました。
時間がない。みんな頼む。
Oh.
了解。隊長、2分以内に戻るから頑張って。
では浮田さん、椿山さん、私たちも。
Come on, Ukita.
どうすればいいの？手始めにこの瓦礫から撤去します。
Jun left the factory as Kazami, Ena, and Ukita started removing the debris. But a minute later, Watase's arms started shaking rapidly. The weight drilling into his back relentlessly tortured his body. His spread elbows creaked, feeling like they'd snap like twigs at any second. Moribe, please hurry up! Yuri's face scrunched up with bitterness, as if she could tell what Watase was feeling.
ごめんなさい。隊長さん、
Aww.
私のせいで
Mm-mm.
隊長さんまで
It's not your fault.
バカ野郎。いらんこと言うんじゃねえ。
でもどうして隊長さんがどうしてそうまでして私を
Don't make him
救おう
talk
として
right now.
るんで
He's
すか？
super focused. Even he didn't know why. He could say it was because of the voice in his head, but that didn't feel true. So he just answered with the role he'd been given.
当たり前だろ。俺はレスキュー隊の隊長なんだぜ。
そんな、それじゃどうしてあの時。
But before Yuri could finish her sentence, Jun's shouts cut in.
お待たせ。そちらの状況は？
正直きつい。急いでくれ。
わかりました。森部、すぐにエアジャッキの用意を。
スタンバってるよ。指示どうぞ。
まずここからここまでのラインをエンジンカッターで切断します。その後開口部にエアジャッキを、瓦礫を持ち上げ2人を助け出します。
了解。椿山さんと沖田さんは一旦下がって。
I hope this works.
では切断開始。
The two rescue workers then began removing the debris. Come on! But the strength in Watase's arms was fading quickly. It wouldn't surprise him if the weight of the debris won out at any second now. Watase looked into Yuri's eyes and spoke.
なあユリ、一つだけ俺の願いを聞いてくれるか。
願い？
俺に頑張れと言ってくれ。
Aww.
頼ま。
隊長さん、頑張ってください。
Upon hearing those words, Watase felt his body become filled with renewed strength.
おっしゃー。
That's right. He mustered every ounce of strength he had and pushed up the debris. At that exact moment, part of the debris was removed and light shone on Yuri's face. It was then that Jun inserted the air jack into the opening.
エアジャッキセット完了。
皆さん、ジャッキアップ時に瓦礫が崩れないよう手を貸してください。
任せて。
よし、こっちは僕が支えよう。
空気注入。行くよ。
The debris was then lifted up into the air.
隊長、ユリさん、早く。
Watase and Yuri obeyed Kazami's orders and slipped out of the debris. Ooh! Oh man! Watase flopped onto the floor as soon as he escaped the pile of debris. What do we got? Tachibana? That's fine. All of his bones were creaking and his muscles were shaking like crazy. Oh, right. Are the others okay? Watase looked around him, setting his eyes on Kazami first. And a second later, she...
隊長、ユリさん、よくご無事で。
Aw, that smile! Ran up to Watase and Yuri as she said that and embraced the two of them. Aww. Kazumi paid no heed to the surprise and started talking in a tear-choked voice.
本当に心配しましたよ。私
Oh,
はもう心臓がどうにかなってしまうのではないかと。
she's gonna make me tear up.
大丈夫だ。俺もユーリも。しかし、
This is the first time she's like shed that shell, right? That professional shell that she's been hiding in this entire time. Kazumi's arms of steel felt like they were crushing Watase and Yuri's throats.
ああ、失礼しました。
Aww. She frantically loosened her grip when she realized this. However,
立花さん。どうして話してくれないんだ。
she's not letting go.
いいじゃないですか。もう少しこのままで。
This is adorable.
今は素直に生還を喜ばせてください。あれだけの危機的状況だったんですから。
Aww.
一歩間違えれば本当に危なかったんですから。
Kazumi said that and gave Watase and Yuri a nice pat on the back, upon which Yuri began to tremble as the reality of what they'd just been through only now finally hit her.
怖かったでしょうね。
Oh! Oh my god! Yeah, it was.
涙も見せずよく頑張りましたね。だけどもう安心ですよ。
Kazumi said that and gently stroked Yuri's hair. The warmth from Kazumi's arms flowed into Watase. He always felt Yuri's heat flood into him from their shoulders that were now connected from the hug they were locked in. It was then that Watase felt himself fully reconnect with reality again. That's right. We survived. We made it out of there with our lives. There was a path to survival even in such desperate crisis such as that. And the one who'd carved that path open for them was their most reliable comrade, Kazami. Watase gently hugged her back. Yuri's arms soon overlapped with Watase's. The three of them just stood in that embrace for a while, not saying a word. Aww. Okay, I gotta stop this video here. I know I'm not at exactly 2 hours, but oh my god. The feelings. The feels. They're just riding high for sure. So I'm gonna leave this video here. I don't think we're gonna leave in the cargo lift because all of this stuff is happening. There's still the other side, the other scenario that we haven't even touched on. I thought we were gonna be jumping back and forth between, like, you know, chapter 1 of one, chapter 1 of the other, chapter 2 of one. It's not doing that. So I don't know how far it's gonna let me go, but for now, I feel like this is a good stopping point. So thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know if you enjoyed. I'll see you guys on the next MAMJ. Let's play.